back to WSX. The editing of the show I've always thought was interesting. You had the over the top fireworks, the 30-minute time slot, everything was moving, and the production was definitely unique. It was a unique production. How did you feel about that, and how much of that was your direction and Kevin's direction, and how much of it was, again, Viacom putting their fingers into things?
I think it was all Viacom. I had no say in it. It was edited at Technicolor in Burbank, with notes from MTV, and Kevin was supervising all of that. I remember Kevin called me down one night, probably at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they had an issue with an episode, and I helped them fix it. But it was not. I remember it being a horrible experience. All of WSX was horrible. I'm probably one of the only people you'll meet who was on that show that will talk negatively about it. I hated it.
It's a shame, but I can definitely see why, because, again, just when you were talking about, you were taken out of your role for a lack of experience, and then they put someone else with no wrestling experience into the role.
Yeah. And it wasn't just that, I mean, at that point, when we started doing the series and we moved over to the Desilu studios, when we shot it, it was, it was a different vibe at that point. It's because now we're in this Hollywood environment. They're shooting Monk, the show, right next to us, and here we are wrestling, and so it was a different environment at that point. I knew we weren't doing traditional pro wrestling, but I also felt that the network and the people involved on an executive level above us didn't care about us, and then ultimately they didn't, because they burned all the shows, and then they put us opposite the new ECW, David Lagana's ECW. So it wasn't planned out. I thought it was doomed from the beginning, and we were promised a second season, and we never did it.
Did they give a specific reason? Because I feel like it was one of those declining ratings, even though they didn't necessarily promote you guys the right way. Was that an excuse?
Nothing to do with ratings. It had nothing to do with ratings. I heard a couple of reasons, but none of them I can't qualify, so I'm not going to say them. I do know that they did think that, Vampiro, they threw a fireball at him. I think it was Ricky Banderas, and it was a bit much, and it did legitimately burn Ian Vampiro. And I was told that the show might be too violent, which if that was the case, we could have certainly toned it down for the second season. But we always had network people there when we shot the show. Like, everybody saw what we were doing.
So the excuses kind of came later, basically.
Well, yeah, there was a management shift at MTV at that time. If you remember, they went from male-oriented programming with us and a couple other shows into more of the quinceañeras and Sweet 16 and Pimp My Ride and This Is My House, and the whole network changed its vibe.
Yeah, that's a dramatic shift. I can see where that kind of left you in no man's land.